we need to kill Bond via Bruce Lee movie.
Yeah.
This is what this movie does, and this is one of the dumbest parts of this movie. And I only say that not because the action of it or that stuff isn't cool. Like, I'm like, cool.
Yeah.
Like, I like Enter the Dragon. I like a lot of those Bruce Lee movies. They're great. But it's almost like the movie puts the handbrake on it, and it's like, wait, we got to come up with a reason why not to kill Bond. Oh, we're going to send him to this place where we have kung fu fighters to kill Bond. I'm like, really? Like, that's how you're going to kill him? Like, the other guys were like, we're going to send him to an alligator farm and he's going to get eaten we're going to leave him on an island. He's going to get eaten by alligators.
Which I think that's great. I think the farm is great also because the farm had their heroin production. It's the same thing though, right? Like, you see, it's the same exact concept. Like, literally take him to the farm is the same thing as
take Mr. Bond to school.
Take him to the farm.
Take Mr. Bond to school.
And at that point, I'm just like, come on, guys. Like, you had Knick Knack with the trident, and he could kill him. And I was like, come on.
But that makes sense. To say don't kill him, you're literally in my home, makes sense.
Stop it! Not here. This is my home.
Fine.
Take him elsewhere.
Fine. But don't take him to a dojo where he can easily escape, or that like his one ally at this place is usually like,
are you all right?
How did you find me?
High Fat owns this place.
High Fat owns this place. Like, I knew this place existed. That's how we ended up here. And then it just so happens that my two, what was it? His nieces, right?
Nieces.
His nieces come out and kick the whole fucking dojo's ass, and you're like, this is cool.
Wait, are you
but
saying that?
Just
are
like,
you saying? How dare you say that women can't? You're just saying that because women kicking a man's ass. How? Blah blah.
I think you're a little more emotional about the fact that a woman and a man are fighting, and she beats him.
Her character is being really fucking street smart. She could have done something smart. Use her brain to kill him.
You just don't think
literally
that women
throw
could
him
kick
into a
guy's
wall.
ass.
She literally
think that a woman could kick a guy's ass.
I can buy the school. I don't care that they base this on Bruce Lee movies.
That doesn't bother me. It's just the way in which it happens.
Scaramanga says later, like, you clearly underestimated Bond.
What do they teach in that school? Ballet dancing?
You know, you should have Scott Eviled him. You should have just shot him in the face. But even Scaramanga, like, you get the sense that Scaramanga wanted Bond to live. If Bond would have died, he would have been like, oh, well, then Bond's a bitch, like, and he's not number one anymore, and like, I wouldn't want to face him anyway. But like, you can tell that he's like gratified that Bond got away, and he knew that Bond would. He's like, Bond's gonna kick your ass, High Fat. You're a fucking idiot. But they show right away, if you're really scrutinizing the school, they show right away that these motherfuckers mean business. They literally have two guys come out and have a sword fight to the death. I mean, it's like, maybe the guy pulls through, but the guy literally cut his guts out, right? So then it's quite clear in that moment that Bond is going to be their punching bag. And like, I almost wish that like nowadays with like a grittier Daniel Craig movie, they would have beat the shit out of him until he was like bleeding and all that. And then maybe he would have been rescued. But we're still living in our like super spy world where like we're not in Daniel Craig covered in blood world yet.
Yeah, it doesn't. To me, it's just like it could have been something more, and that scene just doesn't
Bond,
work.
you get something from that scene. I do love the moment where the guy's like doing his routine, and then it's like Bond, you're gonna face off against this guy, and the guy bows and Bond bows, but then Bond just kicks him in the face, and that's Bond being like, I don't abide by your rules, and I'm gonna do whatever it takes to win. Which at the end of the movie, that's what Bond does. Bond gets off the beaten track in the fun house and starts crawling around behind the scenes to flip the script on Scaramanga. I see it as the exact same thing. Like, you think I'm going to do this. You think I'm going to abide by this, but I'm going to f*** you up taking advantage of anything. If I can find the higher ground in any way, I'm going to find it. So he bests that one guy. Then they bring out Chula! Chula! And Chula looks just like Bruce Lee. He's clearly their Bruce Lee. He comes out. They have a fight. It's honestly kind of a weak fight. I chalk that up to like this. Again, this isn't Daniel Craig. This is like Roger Moore, who's like 65 at this point, and he's kind of slow. I mean, at one point, it straight up looks like Chula is about to give him a coup de grace, and then he lets Bond get up, and Bond just kicks him, and you're like, wait, what? You know, like, so there certainly are some missteps, but the misstep for me is when Not that Hip shows up with the nieces. Like, that's like whatever. Like, they know that Bond's missing. You know, he came back to get Bond at High Fats. Bond didn't show up. You can put 2 and 2 together that he would then go looking for Bond. It's coincidental. It's movie coincidence that he happens to pull up just as Bond swan dives out the window. Whatever. The misstep for me, though, is when they're running away across the bridge and they get in the car and Bond slams the door and you know, Hip assumes that he got in. And that's fine. I mean, people do that to me all the time. They assume I've gotten in the car and they take off, but they usually stop and let me get in. Hip just keeps driving, and it's just an excuse to have Bond run past and jump in the boat and have a boat chase scene just like we had in the last movie. That's the misstep for me. But all the stuff up to that, I'm fine with.